The Jay Garvin Show. Home Mortgage Talk on KRDO News Radio 105.5 FM and 1240 AM. And now here's your host, Jay Garvin.
Well, good morning, Southern Colorado. I am Jay, and you're listening to the Jay Garvin Show here on KRDO News Radio. We have a weekend after Valentine's Day, and hopefully you got everything you needed for your sweetheart. I appreciate you personally tuning into the show here where we talk home mortgage. So, Home Mortgage Talk Show. I am Jay Garvin's owner of Colorado Springs Home Mortgage Loans and your expert in real estate and also real estate finance here in Southern Colorado. A little bit of house cleaning here. Today we're going to be talking about demographics of the economy, Part 2. And for you, the regular listener, I so appreciate you. On my personal company website, I am the owner of Colorado Springs Home Mortgage Loans. Have owned that since its inception in 2006 and been in mortgage for 13 years now, since 1998. But you can go to my website, Colorado Springs HomeMortgageLoans.com or KRDO underneath the radio, and listen to any of the archived shows this last month. Demographics of the Economy, Part 1, was the actual show that we did the first, I think it was the last week in January. So 4 shows ago, Demographics of the Economy. You can go and look at that. But today we're going to do Demographics of the Economy Part 2, because this is a big part of Southern Colorado and a big part of your life as far as the economy, as far as your investments. I bring just a perspective not only at the news and economic updates for Southern Colorado, Colorado Springs, El Paso County, all of that, but specifically to you and your family. I am just a normal Joe like you, but I am an expert in home mortgage and in real estate. Not only do I have customers and have helped over 600 individuals personally, but my wife and I also are real estate owners and also investment property owners. And I'm going to tell you stories, but if you're looking for a government loan to restructure and you are higher than 4.5%, you definitely need to give me a call. Government loans, FHA, VAs, some of the DU refi pluses like that are down to 3.75% and as low as 3.5% on 30-year fixed mortgages. You can get loans with no origination fees at all, which just means that your loan expenses or investment are only about $1,500 out of pocket rather than $4,000 or $5,000. Of course, can talk if you're an investment property owner and you have a house that has a mortgage rate higher than 5.5%, you absolutely need to call me personally. I'm going to have guests on my show like Paul Wegeman, who just made one call to me. And over the holidays, we restructured he and Nancy's entire portfolio of 3 investment properties and his primary residence. And now they have $580 more a month in their budget. That is another investment. That's another Social Security check. That's a huge part of anybody's budget. What would $500 or $200 or even $100 a month mean for your budget right now, especially you in your golden years? That $100 a month and your monthly income is very important. But those are some of the buzzwords of the interest rates and what's out there. I'm more of a individual of investment and long-term and not just the buzzwords of interest rates. But interest rates are important in the sense that when you restructure, you can do it wisely and save thousands of dollars every month. So I am your expert on that. When you call, you're going to talk to me personally. You're not going to get a telemarketer or one of my staff members. You can call me at 719-330-1457 and just call me direct on that, 330-1457 with any of your questions. If you want to get things started on your purchase or on your refinance, we can build a relationship. And I have said for years, you and I will have a relationship that begins at the closing. It won't culminate there. So a couple other housekeeping things is there's other shows in the archive, both at my website and at krdo.com on investment properties in Southern Colorado and creating a rental retirement. And then as recent, I've done some shows with Halftime in America, why to buy and why to buy American now, and how you can do that. So we're going to get into a little bit of the demographics of the economy. And basically what that means is you're listening here, taking time out of your morning, the weekend before President's Day here, to understand the economy. There's no doubt at all we're coming into an election year. Everybody, you can turn the stations and talk about national news or national concepts, and this is a great station at KRDO to do that. Remember, don't forget there's Dave Ramsey, who does a Financial Peace University every week on KRDO, but he's going to talk generalities. I'm going to talk specifics about El Paso County. We know that there's an election coming up. Everybody has an opinion. We know that we just had a primary election here, and it looks like Romney is not a far ahead of the pack as he thought he was. We've got national news with United States hitting their debt limit definitely before the election. That's national news. But what does it mean to you, and what does it mean to me? What does it mean to your family, to your kids? If I'm talking to you and you're a mom out there, what's going to be different in the fall? Why is the economy where it is? Why has the economy been in the tanks since 2006? And that's what the demographics of the economy is all about. In previous shows, the demographics of economy, I talked about the fact that I personally, in my opinion, don't believe a particular president or a particular Congress or a particular politician or a particular attack on United States soil put us into a downturn in the economy. I believe it's demographics. And what does that mean? That means that if you were born between 1946 and 1964, you are a baby boomer. If you're listening here, which I appreciate you personally, and born before 46, you're part of the great generation. And if you were born between 1965 and 1980, you are like me. You are a Gen Xer or an X-Gen. And if you are born after 1981 to 2000, you are an echo boom. And quite honestly, I don't believe there is anybody that is born sooner than 2000 that's even listening to my show. As a matter of fact, if you are listening to my show, you're listening to me right now, and you are born after the year 2000, you give me a call. I'm going to talk to you personally, and I'll give you a $25 iTunes card, because I just don't believe that people 20 and younger are even listening to radio as much, not because it's the generation, just because it's the age. And if they are, they're probably doing the live stream on the internet or smartphone like I do. But you call me at 330-1457, 330-1457. And if you are younger than the echo boom, born after 2000, and you're listening to my show, you give me a call, because I will be surprised. I actually was surprised this last week, because more than 85% of you listening personally, as we're building a relationship here, more than 85% of you own your homes. And I actually got a call this last week from Mike, who's now a new client, had an entire military career and never used his VA eligibility. And I am so excited for him, because now he is going to be using his VA entitlement. He is one of the 15% of my listeners, of you out there, my friends, that is a current renter, and he's passing the threshold into home ownership, and it's exciting. He's got his VA eligibility that he's worked hard for his whole career. He's at historically low rates. I mean, Mike is going to get like a 3.5% on a 30-year mortgage. I mean, that's just insane. I mean, think about that. And I don't teach theory. I teach reality and lessons. My wife, Marlo, and I, and my kids, our kids, Asher and Ella, and I are under contract right now to buy a house. I sold everything that we had, more than a half a dozen properties to include our primary residence that we had lived in for 13 years. And I sold this whole portfolio between 2007 and eked it out just by 2009. By the grace of God, made money and profit on all of those. And since 09, 010, it's just been a tank. Even 09 was bad, but I had a house by Fort Carson. Numbers were up, and by the grace of God, I sold it for a big profit, and I had it for 13 years. But the reality is Mike, the client, Mike, my friend, is now out looking for a house, and he's going to get a 3.5% interest rate. My wife and I are buying a $390,000 house for like $125 a square foot in the Broadmoor that used to sell for $175 a square foot, easily a $560,000 house. We're buying it for $380,000. We're getting a 3.5% interest rate, and we're going to have a monthly mortgage payment with principal, interest, taxes, and insurance with no money down of like $1,900 a month. We are renting right now for over $2,000 a month, and we're going to own the house outright for less. So we talk about this. I'm excited for Mike that he is going to be going into home ownership. Talking about the demographics of the economy is finishing this up before we go to the next segment, is that the economy is affected and the economy is slow because you, the baby boomers, the largest generation in the history of the world, are retiring, and you're over 60 now. I'm going to explain this in the next segment, but you are over 60 now, and you are starting to retire, and you're spending less money, and you're handing off the gavel. You're changing the guard to my generation, the X generation, and go figure, for the first time in our illustrious nation, Gen X, which is me, is smaller for the first time ever in the history of the country. You are seeing a generation, Gen X, that is only 40 million, maybe 49 million participants instead of the baby boomers at 78 million. And there's just not enough consumers. And I'm going to talk about that in the next segment. Straight ahead, we're going to get down into the meat of why the economy, what it is, and why is that important. Because as soon as you understand that, as soon as you start to get excited and embrace that, then you know how to best plan for your family, to have security for your investments, for your kids, because the economy and finances and housing should only scare you if you don't understand it. If you understand it, confidence comes with knowledge. So straight ahead, we're going to jump right into this. We're going to help you understand the economy. We're going to help you understand the local economy in El Paso County as it is part of that. And we're going to help you plan for your family and your finances and take advantage of it all. You're listening to Jay Garvin's and The Jay Garvin Show.
The Jay Garvin Show. Home Mortgage Talk on KRDO News Radio, 105.5 FM and 1240 AM. And now here's your host, Jay Garvin.
Back with you here, Jay. You're listening to The Jay Garvin Show on KRDO News Radio. Thank you very much. We were talking about the demographics of the economy before the break. I've got my stats here just like El Rushbo. And we were talking about the generational difference, the demographics. And I'm going to jump right into this. I've done a show in the past about this. You can go on to my website, Colorado Springs HomeMortgageLoans.com. Colorado Springs HomeMortgageLoans.com, and you can see archived shows. Also, you can go on to KRDO.com under radio, the scheduling here for Saturday mornings and Sundays to listen to the archived shows of the Demographics of Economy Part 1. I was talking about generational differences, and my generation, born between 1965 and 1980, is the smallest generation in the history of our country. We are called Gen X, not because we are an alphabetical named generation, but we are numerically, Roman numeral, numerically labeled generation. So we are X generation, the 10th generation of this great country, and we are the only generation ever to be smaller than the generation before us. So this whole economy is not all about President Obama. It's not about a President Bush and President Clinton or Reagan or anything. It is about supply and demand. And I'm going to explain that here and really get into that. But during this whole time, please understand that I just study this just like you do with your career. I'm very, very passionate about this. I'm an expert in the sense that I've studied it for years. Just like I was in the military, a pilot. Before I retired, I was paid to study a flight manual. If you're active duty military out there or retired, you know for a fact when you get to the end of your career, it's not a plaque on the wall. It's only the knowledge that you have to share with others. That's why mentorship is so strong in the business community and especially in the military community, because it's all we have to give. And that's all I'm doing to give to you is that, yes, I am an expert when it comes to financing, an expert when it comes to real estate and investment properties, because I've studied it for well over a decade. And with the demographics of the economy here, we have a supply and demand issue. Harry Dent talks about this in his book, The Roaring 2000s and the Next Great Bubble Boom. I am a magnet for books, and with the demographics of the economy is there's only 49 million consumers. And let me explain what this means. Here is the meat of this show. There is a theory by Forrester Research has touched on it. Harry Dent really touches on it a great deal. That through supply and demand, you have generations. You have the largest generation in the history of our country thus far is the baby boomers. And anything the baby boomers touched and consumed, they increased in value, whether it was the stock market, whether it was a particular car, whether it was a particular type of house, whether it was Florida or California, whatever the baby boomers started to do in mass, it increased in value, because when you have 10 people wanting to buy a house, but there's only 5 houses available, the supply is down and the value goes up. It's simple common sense. Well, the same thing now, if there is 10 houses available and only 5 people want them, then you have more supply than demand. So like I said before, if you've got 10 people that want houses and there's only 5 houses available, prices are going to shoot up. But if there's 10 houses available and there's only 1 or 2 or 5 people that want them, the value is going to drop dramatically. And that's what's happened in the whole demographics of our economy. My generation is only 49 million. And therefore, in this demographic study, the primary drivers, the primary engine of our economy is people aged 40 to 60 years old. So let's just look at this for a second. If you look at the baby boomers, forget Ronald Reagan, forget Jimmy Carter, forget Bill Clinton. When in your mind do you remember the economy starting to expand and go continuously like an 8-cylinder engine? And it was in the mid-'80s. So if you look at this theory that supply and demand drives our economy, the baby boomers, born the first ones in 1946, if you add 40 years to that, that's 1986. So the first baby boomer turned 40 in 1986. No matter who you are, when did our economy started to really turn around during the Reagan era, and you can talk about trickle-down economics or the conservative approach and the great communicator of the Gipper and all of that. But 1984, 85, I was graduating from high school. 1986, the economy was screaming. All the way through the 8 years of the term of Bill Clinton, it was screaming. It didn't even show signs of any blip at all until 91, briefly with George Bush Sr., but then it started and picked up all the way through Clinton and all the way through George W. Bush till we know when. About 2005, 2006, the train was coming off the track, or at least starting to wobble to where it really fell apart in 2007. So now look at this. If you take the first baby boomer at 1946 and add 60 years, when is the time when people stop spending money, they start saving, they start conserving, they're not driving kids around 100,000 miles every decade, they're slowing down their expenses, they're not paying for college, they're not in an active career, people start to slow down at 60. And this is part of the theory. So if you take the first baby boomer in 1946 plus 60 years when they first start to retire, that's 2006. And now the tragic reality of this is that if you look at the primary consumers being aged 40 to 60 years old and the baby boomers touching everything and having it explode, I mean, the stock market has been a buy and hold environment. 1980s, 1990s, 2000. I'm going to get into that as well. But if you look at the markets from 1980 to 2005, it was a buy and hold market. We are definitely in a secular bear market, which means from 2006 on, all the way probably through 2020, 2025, the stock market isn't going to get much higher than 14,000. Mark my words. And if you question this, go back to the generation before the baby boomers. From 1956 to 1980, you do the math. You look at the charts, you Google it, and see that the stock market was flat, which means in 1956, the market was at the same value as it was in 1980. And if you weren't actively trading your assets between 1956 and 1980, you weren't making a boatload of money like my parents did or like you did as baby boomers. But the demographics of the economy means that from 40 to 60 years old, you are the primary engines driving the economy. So then before that, if you're 0 to 25 years old, you're born, you're a baby, you're an infant, up to 25 years old, you're an absolute sucking drain on the economy. And that's just a reality. I mean, you're a baby, you're an infant, you're elementary school, you're going through school, your parents are driving, taking you to sports. They are buying your tuition. They are buying your sports equipment. Your parents that are 40 to 60 years old are buying your toys. Your parents are the ones that are paying for your college. And you're just a suck and a drain on the economy, which is good. I've been there. We're glad we are educating and paying and taking care of our children. I have a beautiful daughter Ella, who is turning 6 years old this next week on the 21st. We're here at the President's Day weekend, and she turns 6 years old Tuesday, the day after President's Day. But if you look at that, my 6-year-old daughter and my 8-year-old son are absolute apple of Marlowe and my eye, but they are an expense and a great one. Now, if you're 25 to 40 years old, you're what's called a transitional force, a maintaining force of the economy. You're trying to go out on your own. You haven't bought your own house yet. You're starting to think about it as you become maybe 28, 30, 35. But by the time you hit 40, for the majority of us, you're established in your career. You are making a lot of money. My wife and I are spending more money now. I'm 44 years old. We are spending more money now. We are putting more miles on our car. Both my wife and her Durango and me in my car putting more than 20,000 miles a year a car. We're spending $700 a month just in gas. How much money are you spending a month if you're retired? Not $700 a month on gas. And the point of the matter is demographically, now as the baby boomers are retiring, it doesn't matter how many people my generation are wanting to buy homes. There's only 49 million of us that are starting to buy homes, and there's 78 million baby boomers trying to sell their homes. It's the same with a dental clinic. If you're a baby boomer and you're trying to sell a dental clinic, there's not enough of us to buy them. And this is tragic, because if you look at the math in this theory, the primary consumers are 40 to 60 years old. Well, if I just turned 40 and we are going to have a drain and a suck and a draw off of the economy, it's going to be for 20 years. So in 2005 and 2006, if we started showing signs of slowing down, buckle yourself in for the ride here. And I'm telling you right now that no matter what administration is in office, it might be affected one way or another. But for the general sense, we're not going to see the tail end of this downturn until 2016, 2018, 2020. And that's just a reality. I don't want to be doomsday. I just want to inform you so we can plan for it. And how can you profit from it? Because you have to get ready for what's to come next. Because for what's to come next after 2018, 2020 is more excitement than we've ever seen. Because here's the good news, the exciting news, is that our next generation, which follows the X-Gen, my generation, the echo boom, the babies of the baby boomers, is already predicted by statistics as being more than 71 million, and adjusting that for immigration, they're predicting while they get into the consuming force as they start to turn 40, that generation adjusted with immigration is going to be anywhere from 78 to 82 million, which means we are going to have a huge economic increase, a boom, an expansion at the end of this decade. I mean, at the end of this decade, we are going to see an expansion that puts United States back in the aggressive driver's seat of the global economy. It's not going to be China in 2020. Why? Because they've limited their population growth for decades now. There's 200 million extra male Chinese people. And by the year 2023, 2030, there's not going to be any population growth in China. It is actually going to be a compression, or it's going to be getting smaller. And that is why you see the tides turning right now. And whatever your opinion is on this matter, whatever you have as far as questions, call me directly. You and I will talk about it, especially if you have questions about how this can apply to your finance and mortgage, because I'm going to explain that and really get into the details of this. You call me at 330-1457. Call me at 330-1457. And you can also just add your questions right into my website. I am the owner of Colorado Springs Home Mortgage Loans. I've been in the industry in mortgage for over 12 years. I am an expert in financing. I have an opinion on the economy. I don't claim to be the sole source. This is one theory, but I'll sell it hard. Go to my website, our company website, Colorado Springs Home Mortgage Loans.com. And I'm not going to force an opinion upon you. I'm not going to force a mortgage upon you. Every single one of the 600 families that I've helped personally, the one thing that we can say and attest to personally, both me and my entire staff, is that we have customer service that exceeds anybody in the entire southern Colorado area. Every single one of my loan originators with my company is a loan veteran. We specialize in service, and I think military understands service better than anything. But the exciting thing that you need to stay tuned for, that we're going to be talking about straight ahead, is what's the excitement to come and how do you plan for it? If the next generation, the echo boom, is between 71 and 78 million as it's growing and adjusted for immigration. What does that mean? That means that we're going to have an expansion, and if you plan during this time, if you listen or adhere to Dave Ramsey's principles of budgeting and living within your means and keeping yourself accountable, this slowdown of the economy can be exciting for you. My wife Marlo and I are buying a $560,000 house right now for $390,000. Do the math. Show me a house in the Broadmoor, 10 blocks from the Broadmoor, that's a rancher that is selling for less than $125 a square foot. They go as high as $200 to $225 a square foot, like the North End. And Marlo and I are getting a full turnkey house, brand new, gutted and renovated, for $390,000 at $125 a square foot. We are going to live in that house for the next 14 years, raising our kids. And I guarantee you, we don't do anything to that house. We sell it for $175 a square foot in 10 years. And I'm telling you right now that we're dealing with an issue that's going to give us $100,000 to $150,000 return on our investment. And you can plan the same way, because when the echo boom starts to consume, there's not going to be enough houses. I'm going to go into the next segment on the local things here, what it means to you. What's your next action to do when this next generation turns 40 years old after the Gen X of me? Are you going to be prepared? My wife and I are going to have 2 or 3, 4 houses when they increase in value. It's a supply and demand thing. Call me personally. You're going to speak with me, not some telemarketer, and have a discussion about what you can do next to secure your family. And we're going to be going through these statistics. I'm Jay. I'm your friend. You're listening to the Jay Garvin Show here on KRDO News Radio. And straight away, we're going to be talking statistics and your budget and the security of your family. Stay tuned.
The Jay Garvin Show, Home Mortgage Talk on KRDO News Radio, 105.5 FM and 1240 AM. And now here's your host, Jay Garvin.
Jay Garvin's here, Jay Garvin Show. Very excited. We've been talking about the demographics of the economy, and any questions that you have at all, you can just go to my website, Colorado Springs Home Mortgage Loans, all spelled out, Colorado Springs HomeMortgageLoans.com. I don't know what it's going to take for you to get off the fence line. Conventional mortgages right now are in the low 4%. 4 days ago, they were as low as 4 1/8 with no origination at all. Government loans, forget it. They're 3.75, 3.6%. 30-year fixed, no origination costs at all, which means your closing costs are less than $1,000 to $1,500 out of your pocket. You're recapturing your investment in a matter of months. Investment properties, if you have an investment property above 5.5%, you need to call me immediately. Because come May and June, definitely by 4th of July, these rates are not going to be here anymore, especially with the potential downgrade of our debt. Come on, let's wake up, pull your head out from underneath the rock. We're going to hit our debt ceiling again because of Congress and President Obama before the election. What happened last year when they hit the debt ceiling? For the first time in the history of our country, our debt was downgraded, and it decimated the track record and the dollar and the market and the value of our treasuries. What do you think is going to happen this year? Do you really think that they're going to find $1 trillion of cuts between now and October? Come on, wake up. Smell the coffee. I mean, it's not going to happen. So rates are going to be gone as far as the low 4s and the 3s by this summer. It's simple. Why is gas more expensive at 4th of July than it is on Thanksgiving? Because it's supply and demand. If people are traveling, the gas companies are going to figure out a way to make the prices high when you are buying it. Same with homes and mortgages. When do you think the interest rates are going to be higher? Right now, in the dead of the winter, or in the height of the summer when people have to move and relocate their families? Come on. This is simple math. So if you have an investment property that's above 5.5%, you call me personally. If you have a home mortgage that's a 30-year fix that's above 4.5%, you call me personally. If you've got a primary residence that's on a 15-year mortgage and you are above 4%, you call me personally. If you've got a government loan, FHA, VA, and you are above 4%, call me. Government loans are as low as 3.5% on a 30-year fixed. 15-year mortgages are 2.8, 2.75 all day long. Now, I'm not going to bait and switch. We're going to go through and talk to you about whether it makes sense. But getting back to the demographics of the economy, it's just a conversation. That's all it is. And going into the statistics here, if we are in a downturn of the economy, if we are starting to be the primary consumers right now, we're the primary consumers of our generation, me, the X generation. We are 40 years old. We started to turn 40 in 2006. We are the smallest generation in 5 generations. We're the only generation that is smaller than our predecessor. That means up to you, up to the baby boomers, every single generation, the first 9 generations in this country were bigger than the one before it. Me, us, the baby boomers, follow-on generation, Gen X. We are the smallest generation in several, and we are definitely 30 million smaller than the baby boomers. I mean, that's absolutely incredible. If you look at it, let's look at this just for a second, and I did this in a previous show. If you remove the actual inner metropolitan cities of New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Philadelphia, Phoenix, San Antonio, San Diego, Dallas, San Jose, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, San Francisco, Austin, Columbus, Fort Worth, Charlotte, Detroit, El Paso, and Memphis. That's 30 million Americans. Now, to make it simpler, if you take the 3 largest cities in the country and their metropolitan areas, so all of New York, boom, take those 20 million and all of the New Jerseys, everything surrounding, that's 20 million Americans away. Take L.A., that's another 12 to 17,000 taken away. You take Chicago, boom, another 9 million in all the metropolitan areas. That's how many consumers we are short. But here's statistically, what does it mean for El Paso County? It means that if you understand this and you get rid of your debt and you refinance and save yourself $200 to $400 a month and then pay off credit cards and don't be frivolous with your money and buy big toys over the next couple years, tune into Dave Ramsey and really listen and learn that regard. But if you focus in and really save your money, you're going to be able to buy things 10 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents on the dollar, because this is what's happening in El Paso County. El Paso County and southern Colorado, you are growing. I mean, since 2000 in that census, Colorado Springs has grown over 10% just from 2000 to 2010. If you look at Colorado Springs over the last 60 years, in 1950, the entire El Paso County is a population of 50,000, and now we're at 400,000. Population in 2009 was 399,827, which means we had an 800% growth. If the primary consumers in this economy are 40 to 60 years old, if the average age is very young and growing in southern Colorado and El Paso County and Colorado Springs, the average age of 34, the most ripened consumers are coming into this community with the military, with the call centers, with the engineering, with the aerospace industry. Colorado Springs is very rich in youth because of our active community, because of the military, because of the appealing geography. All of this creates an extremely profitable brew by the time, if you have properties in place, at least one property for yourself. It would be better if you had 1 or 2 investment properties. By the time these homes start gaining value again in 2015 and 2016 and 2018, you are going to have your retirement set. I mean, that's the basic deal. So what do you do next? What's the call to action? What can you do for your family to make a difference? The first thing is to call me. 330-1457. 330-1457. And straight ahead, we're going to talk about what this actually means for you, how you can plan, how you can profit. When this makes sense, you'll pull it all together. I'm Jay. You're listening to The Jay Garvin Show. Stay with us.
The Jay Garvin Show. Home Mortgage Talk on KRDO News Radio 105.5 FM and 1240 AM. And now here's your host, Jay Garvin.
Well, the third weekend in February, I am Jay. You're listening to The Jay Garvin Show. We are pulling in the last segment here, which is the most exciting segment of Home Mortgage Talk. I am your home mortgage Jedi. Been studying this stuff for 12 years. I don't claim to be smarter than anybody else. I just have studied this for more than a decade, and I better be good at it. If not, I needed to change careers years ago. But we are here the weekend of President's Day, and what can you do with the demographics of the economy here in El Paso County? What can you do specifically for your family to make a difference? And this is what you can do without any doubt at all. We have statistics of El Paso County, southern Colorado. You personally are in a community that is growing. Now, that's interesting because in a growing economy and a growing population, from 2000 to 2010, Colorado Springs grew 10%. But it's interesting, in the last 5 years, the average home price is down almost 5%. The median home price here in El Paso County is down 4.5%. The units sold is only up 3.5% from 2011, from 2010, in an economy that's growing. So that's very, very interesting. Inventory levels are down more than 10%. And what does all this mean for you? This means that if you are a renter, just like Mike Kingsbury that called me, you need to call me or go on to my website right now and just start the process. What does that mean, start the process? If you're single, call me and we'll just have a conversation. I did it with a gentleman yesterday that met me through the radio show, and I don't expect he will purchase for over a year. He has to finish school. He has to get a career, but we're starting the dialogue now. You and I will build a friendship. If you're married, just start the dialogue with your spouse. How difficult is it to say, honey, what do you think about owning rather than renting? If you have bad credit and you can't pay your rent, call me and I'll help you fix your credit, because you do things in stages. You have to be consistent. But once you're ready to consistently pay rent, if you've been paying rent on time for the last 5 years and you don't own a home, you just are naive, or you have some fear issues that I can help you walk through. So what do? You start talking to your spouse. If you own a house and you're starting to go into your spending years, which means you're in your mid to late 30s and starting to go into the 40s, call me. We will help you restructure that. We can help you. It's simple. If you spend $1,000 to $2,000 to restructure your mortgage, but we save you $200 to $300 a month, if it costs you $1,000 and we're saving you $200 a month, it's only going to take you 5 months to recover your investment. And then after that, you and your husband or you and your wife are going to save anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a year just for making one phone call to me. I mean, come on. I guess the only thing can be is your fear that I'm going to try to sell you, or you're not going to seem intelligent. Well, then just go to my website, to Colorado Springs Home Mortgage Loans. I mean, just do it right now. Just write down the address. Even if you don't call, I have plenty of clients that haven't called me for a month until after they've listened to the show. But go to Colorado Springs HomeMortgageLoans.com. Colorado Springs HomeMortgageLoans.com. Fill out the information sheet. Put in your questions in the notes. Click send, and you'll see a fancy little picture of me in my military uniform. And you'll be called personally. So that's what you do to get things started. Now, what do you do from there? And why would you do that? You do that because if you can buy a house, like I told you, The number of listings are down. The foreclosures are falling. I mean, this rodeo is almost over. If you wait another 3 years to buy a house, it's going to be too late. You're going to be buying it when it's starting to approach the retail market again. Things are wholesale. The best time to buy stock was in 2007 in October when it crashed. Just few people had the confidence to do it. I am telling you right now that it is the best time to buy real estate. My wife, Marlo, and I are buying a house right now that we're closing on the 5th of March. We're going to move our family into it. We're buying this house for $125 a square foot in the Broadmoor, less than 5-10 blocks from the Broadmoor Hotel, where houses are averaging $150 to $200 a square foot. Do the math. And we're going to keep this house and grow and build and have our family, Asher and Ella, grow up in this house. We are going to sell this house after we've enjoyed it for 15 years, and I guarantee you it's going to be at $175 a square foot or better, which means we've just put $150,000 to $200,000 in the bank for our family. What are you going to put in the bank for your family? Are you going to be retiring and traveling when you're 70? Are you going to be handing out carts at Walmart? What are you going to be doing? Are you going to be working one more time and say, I need to keep busy, as you say next in the Burger King drive-thru? I'm not discounting those jobs. I'm just saying when I walk into Walmart and I see a grandma there handing out a cart, I will have an argument with every single one of you. That is she adding more value handing out a cart at Walmart, or would she be adding more value sitting with her 7 grandchildren around her telling her about the legacy of her family? Come on. Call me. I challenge you on this one. Financial independence, people don't talk about it because people don't have it. So right now, call me, get passionate. This weekend, make a difference. It's President's Day. You call me. I am Jay Garvins. I'll help you personally. No telemarketer. We'll have a discussion. We'll make a difference in your life. We'll make a difference in Colorado Springs. And we'll make a difference in this economy. I appreciate your friendship, and I'll see you next week.